It's time for our 360 round. Let's take a look at the airlines. There was a lot of positivity, and then we heard from American Airlines. Even Ted Weisberg earlier today said it's not an easy business. Jared Ballou is with us, Managing Director of Transportation at Aerospace and Defense, S&P Global Ratings, and Chad Swarthout, Analyst, Consumer Choice Center. Thank you both for being here. So, Chad, the big picture, look, UAL was great, Delta was great, American dragging down the group a bit. It's not an easy business. Chad, what are your thoughts here when you see and hear from what American's saying today? Down 7.5%.
I think American Airlines has had a little bit of a tough year. Ultimately, their choices to really push a lot of their corporate bookings away from traditional, booking channels and trying to bring that stuff direct. They've had some IT issues over the holidays that I think is, reduced consumer confidence a bit. But I think ultimately the biggest issue for American Airlines has been sort of this surprise, winter storm that's come through across really a whole bunch of places across North America, and fuel prices have gone up, and I don't think they expected that. So although their performance this quarter has been, better than expected, I think they're worried that, Q1, they're, ultimately not going to make as much money. And I think, the reality is, as much as airlines try to do whatever they can to sort of adjust their business and improve things, and I think we're seeing that kind of across the industry, fuel prices really are one of the biggest driver of whether, profits remain high or not, in this sector. So I think ultimately that's where I'm seeing most of the adjustment in seeing the stock come down today.
And Jared, you noted that American did well with the debt reduction. That's always a goal of these companies. And there's been positive sentiment on the group. But what are the, winners and losers? What determines the winners and losers in this group right now?
Well, we don't necessarily assess winners and losers, but I would say companies like Delta and United have the edge simply because they're generating more free cash flow. That gives them more flexibility to use that towards that repayment. And those two companies that I mentioned are ahead of American in terms of their deleveraging. American did exceed their expectations for debt reduction from their previously held target. But at the same time, their debt levels were also quite a bit higher. So I think it's more of a challenge for American to get their leverage levels lower than some of their network peers, simply because of the debt load that they have and the fact that their prospective cash flow generation is likely not going to be at the same level.
You did note earnings and cash flow should improve in 2025. Jared, is that for most of the names, all of the names?
Yeah, I would say certainly with respect to the three network carriers, big reason for that is the fact that they do have the highest overall index to premium sales, to international business, and loyalty sales, frankly. So I think those are the three themes that we see as positive for the businesses overall. You will get some other players that will benefit from that, but I think that is the key. Those are the key factors that are giving them the edge from a profitability perspective and ultimately flowing through to earnings and cash flow.
Yeah, look, I mean, we tried to see M&A activity. For example, Spirit was trying to give it a go. Then they, have been doing their own funding and trying to stay alive. Chad, what kind of M&A activity may there be in this group? Should there be M&A activity when you think of the specific names?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Trump administration. Ultimately, the DOJ under Biden made it really difficult for a lot of these kind of M&A activities, but also, coordination activities like the Northeast Alliance that JetBlue and American were trying to accomplish over the past year or two. Blocking the JetBlue acquisition of Spirit, certainly has had a huge impact on Spirit, and the bankruptcy, the Chapter 11 that we're seeing right now with Spirit almost certainly attributed to that. Where if you see what's happening with Alaska Airlines acquiring Hawaiian, we're seeing a really positive impact on network route availability, prices for consumers. I think ultimately easing up on some of this kind of very restrictive antitrust concerns from the DOJ will make it easier for these airlines to compete in a increasingly competitive global market.
Yeah, because you noted how, Biden's DOJ did block the JetBlue Spirit, JetBlue AA Northeast Alliance. I mean, we expecting more deals for the most part in just about every business. Jared, I'll give you the final word. I mean, you seem optimistic about 2025. International will have to play a part. Business travel will have to play a part too.
Yeah, certainly international travel is a big bright spot. We're seeing travelers more interested in continuing to be interested in traveling to Europe, not just in the seasonal peak periods, but through other periods as well. So that's been a welcome benefit for much of the industry, particularly those that service the transatlantic routes. So I think that's a positive. I think business travel has effectively neared recovery from pre-pandemic levels, and that's higher margin business simply because a lot of that does promote more premium sales, more loyalty business. So I think overall, those are a couple of the drivers that are going to have a meaningfully positive impact on margins in what is generally a lower margin industry.
All right, Jared Ballou and Chad Swarthout, thank you so much. Good to see you both, Jared and Chad.